Hi, I'm Shane Coolball, President of the York County Young Democrats, here with Vice President and co-host Samantha Fulham, of course drinking her coffee, as always. And we're here with West York Mayor Shawn Mauck, who is currently seeking to represent us in the Pennsylvania Senate.
Hey everybody, it's good to be here.
So how are you today?
Good. Unfortunately we had to start off the morning a little bit on the somber side. Deputy Marshal Hill, who unfortunately lost his life today serving a warrant. Our condolences go out to his family. And we also had members of York City and Harrisburg Police Department who were shot, so we certainly pray for them for a speedy recovery. It's very difficult being a mayor, firsthand and overseeing a police department that this can happen at a blink of an eye. So, it truly breaks my heart, and hopefully, the family will find some peace, in the hours and days and time to come.
Yeah. Can't imagine the loss. Well, on a more lighthearted note.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No. But what does being a Democrat mean to you? It's a question we ask every candidate.
It's a good question, and I would tell you that I am a Roosevelt Democrat, despite being a middle-aged guy, and I joke about that sometimes on my stump speech. But I find that you can have very good, strong, progressive values that are also fiscally responsible, that focus on building people up and giving them more opportunities, not less. And I think our Democratic Party has always been about uplifting the entire Constitution and perfecting a more perfect union, but doing that in a way that everybody can participate, not just the privileged or a few. And then doubling down on that is, being a Democrat, it's always about building a better economy and creating more jobs so more people can live out the American dream. And I think when we focus on that, we are a better party and a stronger as a country for it.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I left the cat out of the bag. I am a middle-aged guy. Yeah, I try not to be. I have an older son who just started college. He reminds me that I'm old all the time. But I have two identical twin boys that just turned 5. And
so they keep you young.
Yes, it all balances out, and sometimes I wish I could bottle up their energy. But yeah.
If you ever do, let me know. I'd like to buy some.
Absolutely. I will. Well, I would not have to run for office then, right? I would be busy marketing that all day. But yeah, no. That's a little bit of a nutshell. I spent a couple years of my life being a state auditor, focused on our school districts to ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse. I am West York's mayor, as you mentioned. I'm proud of that. And, and more importantly, I'm a candidate for the state senate and want to change, Harrisburg and bring people's voice forward and give them a seat at the table.
So when did you first get involved in politics?
Since I was little. Actually, I credit my parents, but I always say I particularly give credit to Joyce and Alan Vandersloot, who saw something in me that I enjoyed, politics, and Joyce pretty much took me by the hand and said, "Come on, let me show you what this is all about." And at a very early age, I was out handing out flyers for candidates and working at the polls.
I hope they have pictures.
There might be some floating around.
It'd be great for the campaign, too.
Yeah. And then, of course, that translated, into me being active in high school, and I actually believe there are pictures of that. My friends, please, lose those. No, I'm kidding.
Send them my way.
But I actually really enjoy it, and it gets back to paying it forward. I actually think it's about our service to others. When you look at it that way, how could you not want to be involved in politics? But I also, believe it or not, I like the process and the system. And as much as it is broken, I think it is a living, our political system is a living document. Our Constitution is a living thing that we can, really make it better. It doesn't have to just be this plain, piece of paper. We can truly perfect it and make it better, when we have opportunities to do so. And we've seen that, through the country's, history. So, I think it's good stuff, and I, encourage more people to be involved in whether it's local government, state government, or even running for Congress. So we truly make the country and our communities a better place when we do.
Yeah.
Certainly. What have you accomplished so far as mayor of West York?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not one to really brag about accomplishments because I think I'm more of the sense is we did that, now let's move on to what's next. But I'm very proud of the fact that we have a new municipal building, that we were able to do that in an affordable, responsible way. We paid cash for the old Loud School building that now serves as our new municipal building. We actually rent out a portion of that to recoup the cost of our utilities and actually be a more responsible government while we provide additional services that we couldn't before. So I'm very proud of that. I oversee West York's police department, so we spent a lot of time, particularly in the last year, rebranding the department, making it more community service oriented, more neighborhood oriented, making them firm but fair in their approach, and we've seen a lot of progress in that. But we've also done some things to target street dealers of hard drugs in our communities to take them off the streets and focus a new approach, particularly when we have someone that's overdosing on heroin, to try to help them through the process and be a partner in getting to recovery and not just taking them to the hospital and saying, okay, our job's done. So they installed something recently that we call taking an extra 5 minutes, where they try to get to the root causes of what's going on and then maybe pair up families or individuals with other human services so that we can prevent crime from happening.
That's great.
So it's good stuff. I became mayor in a way that sometimes I like to forget. I still sometimes say, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But what I could tell you is there were so many in the community that said, hey, thank you. Whether it's the hugs, the high fives, or the kisses, and saying, you stood up for me in a time where I wasn't sure anybody would. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud that we led in the county and showed the rest of the country, and unfortunately that made international news too, but we showed people that there was a better way to handle that, and that we could lift everybody up, and that we could actually say, to those that would really put those hate-filled messages forward, that not in our town. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
You should be.
Thanks.
So what made you decide to run for state senate?
Wow, again, a good question. Kind of a whole host of things. I talked about being an auditor for the state, specializing in schools, and seeing that many of our districts, still aren't getting it right, but then many of them are. Seeing some of the bureaucracy not really helping teachers and administrators get it right, and some of the absolute failures in government. Being a parent, again, worrying about, how's my oldest son going to pay for his college education? Will my youngest children get what they really need to be able to move on to the next level? And those things are important to me. But then, also, which was really in my face and upset me, was the waste of taxpayers' money in our budget processes. The fact that we can have budgets so late that it disrupts school districts' financing, or nonprofits literally had to stop what they were doing because the state held up their money. To think that we wasted hundreds of millions of dollars in that process, that we could have taken that money and done something good with it, I think everybody should be angry. And any on the other side who thought that they could champion saving money, I find it really just not genuine to come around and say, yeah, we want to save money, but we don't mind wasting it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get beyond that and how they explain it, and I think many of them probably just shouldn't return to Harrisburg. And you hear me talk about, if you can't get a budget on time, you shouldn't be able to get a pay raise out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. You can't do your job, you shouldn't be rewarded.
Yeah, just like it is in the private sector.
Yeah, imagine that. And by the way, they're the ones always trumpeting that. But here, I'm a Democrat putting that forward, interestingly enough.
Yeah. So you previously announced that you are for legalizing marijuana.
Yeah.
What do you think that will do for PA?
Well, one, and I will say it is about the revenue, because, when you look at Colorado, I think it's $250 million a year. It's much smaller than Pennsylvania. We have a budget problem here in this state.
Here's a solution.
There's a solution. But not only that, we could focus all the money in law enforcement, all the money in prosecution, all the money in the criminal justice system and our prison system. Imagine if we could take all of that and focus on our heroin epidemic and focusing on drugs that are killing people in our neighborhoods and destroying families. We might be able to save lives by doing the right thing. Now, I've never smoked a joint in my life. I wouldn't even probably be able to roll you a good one. But I
Ask you.
But I will say this. I am not in favor of seeing anybody have to go and do jail time for it. We would put people into the system that would end up being far worse for it than if we maybe figured out the root causes for their need. And believe it or not, you see a lot of positive attributes to using marijuana. And one of them is actually treating people who are having problems with addiction. So I just don't think it makes any sense. I don't think the science supports, being punitive. And I think we're wasting taxpayers' money when we should be focused on the things that are really destroying lives. And to me, that's just a no-brainer.
It's simple, but people make it so complicated.
Well, I think that's what the establishment sometimes counts on, is that if they make it too difficult or seem too scary, that people think it couldn't possibly be that easy.
It can,
And it can.
Besides legalizing recreational marijuana, what would you like to accomplish if you take this seat in the state senate?
Well, thank you. Education. And it seems, again, so simple. Education, education, education. But it all starts there.
Yeah.
And a failed system creates so many problems in every other sector of our society. And you want to save a young person's life, make sure that they get a quality education. Make sure that they have a whole host of teachers that might be able to step in and say, look, if we address this now, we will have a better student and a better human being down the road. And I always look at it as we can actually spend less money up front than if we fail and get it wrong, and we're spending a fortune at the end for jail time and so many other ways that affects us. So I'm for getting the funding model right. In Pennsylvania, for example, we're still about, I think, 37% of funding. Nationally, we were at 47%, so we're behind. We need to continue to fix that. I applaud the governor for restoring the Corbett, education cuts, but we still got a lot of work to do. I think that we need to make sure that we have full-day kindergarten and universal preschool to make sure that our youngest are getting all the fundamentals first. And then making sure that our secondary education students have a platform to go on to either college that's affordable, that doesn't set them up for, adult failures.
Lifetime of debt.
We have families ending in divorce. I think, first marriages is about 56% end in divorce. The number one reason, economics.
Yeah.
So imagine
it's all the stress of managing your finances.
So imagine we're setting two people forward who both have an enormous potentially amount of debt from college. We're kind of setting them up to fail. And I think we need to change that. And by the way, that's being really focused on family values if you can support them staying together by having better economics. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's
Republicans
a nice
hear that.
Yeah.
And then, making sure that our kids that don't go to college, and there's some, and there's nothing wrong with that, get hooked up with a skill program, a STEM program, or an apprenticeship to give them a real chance to have a living wage. So they don't have to work a minimum wage job. So they don't have to worry and stress out about how they can have independence. Because you can't be independent of the things that ill your family if you don't have the money to do it. And I think that we can set up a new, status in Pennsylvania where people feel they have more freedom and more independence to do the things they want because we got it right up front. And, it puts less of a burden on our human services when people can help themselves and they don't have to be
They feel empowered.
Yes.
And then they were willing, want
Absolutely.
to do more.
And, I think it starts, again, with a quality education.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I will tell you that we need to focus on reinventing government, because when you ask people and listen to them, they'll tell you government's broken.
Yeah.
I agree with them. It doesn't work and doesn't represent them the way it should. But despite it being broken, I think it can be still fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it can be fixed, one, by providing better representation to people, listening and finding out what the real problems are, and then actually coming together and getting it done. That's not something you see a whole lot of today in Harrisburg or Washington. You see local government sometimes doing a better job of having a nonpartisan or bipartisan approach, but even there, sometimes it gets down to, just no because it's no.
Yeah.
It was President Kennedy that put the notion together that we should be just getting it done no matter whose idea it was. And I think we need to return to that. The polarization's really destroying the fabric of our communities. When people really they want answers, and they want to feel that they have competent governance, no matter what government agency it is, and I think we can do that. And then frankly, it makes me mad when I see some on the other side want to lay people off when we have state agencies that aren't efficient and dynamic, not because of the people, because we're not investing in training or the efficiencies of having the right computer programs. And some state agencies literally running on 1970s technology. And to think that they could be efficient is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we make sure government works right by investing in it, and then making sure that our workers have the best skills that they can have so they too can be efficient. It's a winning strategy, and when you say you want to run government like a business, that's one way you can. I don't think on the other flip side of that is you don't run government by starving it to death.
No.
It doesn't work. You saw in states like Kansas where it's, ends up being more costly to come back and try to rebuild government after they broke it or sold it. And I think that Pennsylvania needs to be very leery about going down that same road. You know what they say about trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah. Bingo. And, you see that sometimes in our government's leadership. They think these same failed retread policies that didn't work in the 70s and 80s somehow are going to work now. And they're not. But what is required is for us to really come together and figure out what will, and get it done.
Yeah. What's your favorite book?
Boy, well, I'll joke. My favorite book is 1984.
Good one.
I love reading it. I don't like so much that you can make some parallels to today's reality in
It's
it.
very relevant again.
I wish it wasn't. But I love the works. I just finished a book called Game Changers. It was written by a member of our SEAL team. They basically make a case talking about how you can change the broader realities in places like Afghanistan by making a local difference, using local tribes to affect what's going on in the larger picture. Interestingly enough, there was a lot of parallels to how we police and how you can get better intelligence by being nicer to the people you serve. The people are the police, and the police are people, and having that better synergy between the agency and the people they serve. And it's a good book. As far as the other ones, I will say too, Green Eggs and Ham is my
classic.
Yeah, my kids love it. I still love it. I love the Harry Potter series. It's well written. You always love a book where you start it and you don't want to put it down.
Yeah.
I know.
And I will, give her a ton of credit by having a whole volume of books where it's like, oh, this is just too fun to read. And then you have that same enthusiasm when I'm reading to the kids, and they're like, hey, can we keep reading? So that's the mark of a good author. Those are just a few that I have enjoyed reading.
Yeah. A couple of classics.
Yeah.
So who is someone that you credit for taking this path of leadership in life? I know, it's hard to choose,
There's
right?
a long list. But the most obvious are my two parents. I was very fortunate to have both of them under the same roof. They have given me both equally some amazing characteristics, and I thank them for that. You know, my dad worked very hard every day to make sure that, you know, we were safe and, you know, the bills were paid and we had a house to live in. My mom was always, and dad too, but she was always, you know, come here, let me show you how to do this. You know, I knew how to cook and I knew how to sew. She thought it was
I'm
important.
jealous.
Yeah.
I can't sew.
She,
Saved my
I'll
life.
teach you.
Either.
Yeah.
Well, that's no secret.
Yeah.
Anyone knows
Yeah.
me. I've been cooked since 2015.
Both of my parents felt that you should be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be
Yeah.
able to take care of yourself. So I very much appreciate those life lessons. My mom gave this ability to kind of learn how to overcome. You know, she had a double mastectomy and had to overcome that. And, you know, the interesting part too, she had to overcome some of the stigma of the looks of, like, you know, suddenly look different. And that was kind of hard for all of us. I have an older brother, and we'd be like, you know, what's wrong with you? That's still my mom, and you know, she's not less of a woman because of it. So I really admire her for just being able to just
Power through.
through it. And I think it's a quality, really honestly, both of my parents have instilled, and I see it in myself and my kids, where, you know, we all have tough times, but it's
you're
what
resilient.
you do. And and you just have to, you know, power through, but then you also need to sometimes, and this is where my dad comes in, as know when sometimes things come up and you can't power through, to have the ability to reach out to others and also get help.
Mm-hmm.
And he blazed a very good path forward in that, in his personal self, you know, in his fight with alcohol addiction. So I'm proud of him for that, and proud of my parents and what they taught us. And I have to give credit too to a whole host of teachers that really, throughout my career as a student, kind of interceded at the right time. Mm-hmm. I had a reading resource teacher and a 4th grade teacher that saw I was having some trouble reading. What they didn't realize was because I was bored out of my mind.
The same thing happened to me too.
Isn't that? But it's terrifying, right?
Yeah, because if they wouldn't have figured, you know what I mean? It's all those are.
How would it have played out differently?
Yeah,
had they not
right,
gone the extra step?
If I wouldn't have had that right teacher in place to encourage me to do more and figure out that, hey, you know, how do you power through this again? You
just
know,
want to read the boxcar children.
You know, for me it was, you know, when you used to read around the room, I already read it, and, you know, I'm thinking, oh no, I've just, you know, did 20 other things while everyone else was reading, and I lost my place. Mm-hmm. I used to panic. So of course I learned to mark where we're at and pay attention a little more.
I was always read way ahead. So by that point.
Yeah, same thing. And then what they found is that my reading level was actually higher than a 4th grade reading level, and I just needed to be able to have an outlet for that and be challenged. So, you know, I also had some terrific teachers help me find my voice. I used to be a young man where if I would have went to the podium, I'd be nervous. My younger self probably would never imagine that I can go to a podium and deliver a speech without notes and nail it. But thanks to folks like Mr. Jacoby, who said, Mauck, I can't hear you. You have a voice. I want to hear you. Use it. Wow me, he would say. He's like, you're smart. Wow me. And it helped, you know, break that ice. And, you know, I haven't shut up ever since. So, but yeah, no, I credit those folks. And, you know, I actually have a unique spin on this too. I credit the citizens of West York for helping me be a better leader, asking me tough questions and keeping me on my toes to serve them. You know, I find that as I listen to them, they teach me a lot. I learn a lot just listening, and then trying to solve the problems that they struggle with has made me a better leader, and I thank them for that.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
If somebody wants to get involved with your campaign, how do they do so?
Oh, great. Yeah, we just launched our new website, Mauck for Senate.
It's awesome. Check it out.
Thank you.
It's very fun. It's very personable. I see you in it.
Oh, cool. Thanks. It was one of the challenges. We wanted to be different, and we wanted our website to be exciting. I played a little bit of a hand in that, and my oldest son helped a little bit too. But it's really fun to build a website, and we have some really good volunteers too that are help work on the segments. And it was a collaborative effort. But thank you. I'm glad you like it. I hope everybody else takes a chance to look at it. You can literally donate there. You can learn about
your Bitmoji too.
Yeah,
that's fun too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a candidate do that. Did you see that advertisement?
The Simpsons.
Or yeah, maybe it's the Simpsons. I thought it was your Bitmoji.
Well, we had the Simpsons character where they characterized me as a character, which I thought was great.
Fun.
I had to use it. It's like we came up with that. That's cool. It's fun. So
Plus,
different.
everything that The Simpsons has on the show comes true, apparently. So
yes,
this could be good foreshadowing.
It's good juju.
Absolutely, and we have our In Focus section on the website too, which is pictures from around the 28th district and some really great landmarks.
Yeah.
It's fun. You can follow us on Instagram. Of course, we have Twitter too, but you're not going to really probably get much excitement out of that.
Yeah.
I don't tweet like the president.
It just skipped us. I don't know.
It's just not my. It's not my. I use it, but not going to be as much fun as 45 on Twitter. We do have a Facebook platform, so certainly you can follow us there. Back to the website, you're able to volunteer. You can actually dial in as to how you want to volunteer, and our communications director will reach out and help you get plugged into the campaign. So we're excited about it. We're going to do everything we can to win the 28th, and I believe we will. And we're going to do that by encouraging other people to share their little piece of themselves into the campaign. It's part of why, when you see something fun like the Simpsons bit, where you see me as a candidate say, run with that. It's cool. It's different. It's fun. Yeah. We might encourage someone to think, hey, this guy has a little bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah, a personality behind the politician.
Yeah, not a stiff shirt, So I think, that's something we're going to do that's a little different. And we're going to talk to people and listen. I'm already starting a listening tour throughout the 28th and just literally saying what are the issues that you're struggling with. I find too that I get some really good ideas on how to fix it.
Yeah.
Imagine that. And I think that really is what's wrong and so many times in our government is that we lost the art to represent.
Yeah.
And we forget that we are representing all of the people. And the one thing that I'm proud of myself, even as a mayor, is I have no litmus test when it comes to my representation. I might not always agree with some of the things I hear, but I try to help everybody have a better life.
Yeah.
And I will always try to do that, no matter who you are. I always have an open door. And if I get so lucky to go to Harrisburg, and I think we will, I'm going to carry that same policy forward. Everybody can feel good about going into Senator Mauck's office and being able to have a conversation and have their voice heard.
The way it should be.
Yeah, really is. And, for our independent friends out there, I realize we'll only be in the primary mode, but I want you to come forward and tell me how you feel that you can be a part of the campaign. Just because you're falling under that independent category, you have a place on this campaign.
Sometimes they're the best voice.
They really are.
They're not swayed by labels.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a place for everybody, and by the way, including some like-minded Republicans. So I think because we have that open platform, it creates a synergy on the campaign that you don't see very often.
And a dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just about starting a dialogue.
Absolutely. And we as a state are suffering through so many problems that it's going to require more people creating the solution than ever before. I mentioned at the very start about our Constitution being a living document. People might laugh at home and chuckle about that a little bit. But what they fail to understand with that is when we say that is the document was meant to change from generation to generation. It was built in a way that it wasn't easy to change, but when we knew that it had to, we as a country we could do it. We saw it with women's rights and civil rights, and we need to continue to make sure that we are a country that everybody can be proud to look to, and that boils down to each and every one of our states. Many times what's ailing us at the federal level ails us at the state level. Now, we might not have as much ability to fix it, but we can show leadership and encourage them to fix it.
Yeah.
For example, on issues like CHIP, Children's Health Initiative, our state leaders need to say very clearly that it's something that the federal government needs to do. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Absolutely. So visit thefunmauckforsenate.com.
That's right. You'll love it.
Yes, and get involved with this campaign, and we'll be having another interview with you as
absolutely.
the campaign unfolds. It's going to be an exciting year for us.
It is. I look forward to holding my Republican friends accountable.
Yes.
You know, I think so many times that we don't have enough debate, and I just love what you guys are doing so that candidates can come forward and talk a little bit about themselves.
Personalizing politics.
Yeah, and you know, isn't that what it's really all about?
Yeah, really. It's not a concept I came up with. Should be the way it's been forever.
Take a little credit. And the coffee was great too. Yeah.
Yes, I got that Starbucks, so come join us on the couch.
All right.
But more to come though with Shawn Mauck.
I definitely will be back, and hope you all tune in.